Welcome back to the Rhonda Swan Show. Well, season 4 has not let any of us down. In fact, we have been bringing on guests that have utilized their experiences and turned them into their greatest gifts and fallen in love with their impact. And today, we are going to get a bit more juicy. Now, we've been covering all of the elements of spirituality, of business growth, of personal growth. But today, we're going to tap deeply into wealth. What does it really truly mean to be wealthy? How can you attract more wealth into your life? Well, my next guest is Miss Leah Steele. In fact, I'd like to actually say she is Miss Lady Steele. Leah is the CEO and founder and producer of the Witches of Wall Street reality television show and host and producer of the Wealth Witch podcast, which is a top wealth and entrepreneur podcast for women. She's a holistic wealth strategist and thought leader and the creator of the Emotional Resonance Clearing Modality. Her purpose is to inspire and to empower millions of people to wake up, repattern their wealth, and repattern their wealth programming, and reclaim their divine right to be wealthy in all areas of their lives. Leah Steele, it is always such an amazing pleasure to have you here.
It's so great to be back.
I know. I feel like we've been we hang out all the time.
Yeah.
However, we've been in the blue chair for several times.
Yes.
And I'm really happy that you're here because I think during this season, this is season 4, so I have been really encompassing all areas of not just the wild woman, because of course, we're both in the book and that's coming out, but really what does it take to really truly attract goodness into your life, more abundance in every area and every element. But we haven't really talked so much about the financial wealth side. And so I wanted to have you come in because I think this is a big conversation, and many use the conversation of wealth as like a taboo, right? Especially in the spiritual working side. Why is that? Why do they do this?
Well, I think that, we've been programmed and conditioned for so long to believe that you can either only be spiritual or make money.
Yeah.
And
right.
There is a big taboo in the spiritual community around materialism.
Yeah.
And I believe that that's by design. I think that we've been programmed and conditioned to keep spiritual people disempowered and unresourced, because when they are resourced, they change the world. So, we've got that dynamic that we've had to deal with, but it's, there is very much this feeling and overarching belief in the spiritual community that if you like luxury or you want to make money or you want to be successful, that something's wrong with you.
See, and that pisses me off a bit because it's like, all right, if I talk about the spiritual community, I think, well, we're all spiritual, right? However, there's still these dualities that they even put, or they or whoever puts in place. So why is there still that duality that I can't be spiritual but also be wealthy? Where do you think it actually came from though? Because for instance, I know a lot of amazing spiritual, creators and educators that have a lot of wealth. Is it more so because of the way they use it? Or is it because their mindset says that they need to be sitting on the earth and praying, without any jewelry and being a hippie? Let's get real. My family is hippie, so I have nothing wrong with the hippies. I lived in a green school bus till I was 3 years old. But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Why does that happen?
Yeah.
Why do we have that even in our mind?
Yeah. Well, I think that, we have to actually really look back in history to talk about why this is the way it is right now.
Yeah.
So our healers, our spiritual leaders of our tribes and our communities actually originally were some of the most well-resourced, some of the most well-taken care of people in the tribe. So the people that were responsible for the spiritual resonance of the tribe, the medicine women, the medicine men, the healers, the energy workers, they were always the best taken care of people in the tribe because they needed to be operating at their best in order to care for the collective. So that, if we go back to our tribal times, that's how things were. With the rise of Christianity and the Catholic Church coming into power and the canonization of the Bible, we saw things like the Inquisition happen, where we then began to strip spiritual people, healers, wise women, men of their
witches,
witches of their power. And at that time, there was equally, as we start making people afraid to actually share their gifts, the other thing that then began to be imprinted in religious and spiritual circles was that in order to truly be spiritual, you should heal for free. You should give your gifts away for free. You should take vows of poverty.
Wow.
If you were in a church or part of a religious organization. And I really truly believe that that was done to keep spiritual people disempowered, to keep them under the control of our religious organizations and institutions, so that they couldn't gain too much power. They couldn't gain more power than the church.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, actually. So then what do you believe? What do you believe should happen, and where do you see it moving now in the spiritual healing communities that we need right now more than ever?
Yeah. So we still carry a lot of this, right? A lot of this programming. You still have incredibly talented healers and energy workers that believe that they shouldn't be financially compensated for their work. This has to change. Because until healers and energy workers and spiritual people are properly resourced, we're going to continue to see the type of things happening that we're seeing in the world right now. Tyranny, control, manipulation. And I do think we're starting to move that way. I mean, you know, our show, Witches of Wall Street, this is the premise of it. You can be both spiritual and wealthy. You can enjoy the finer things in life and still do a tremendous amount of good in the world. And so I do think we're moving in this direction. And I think it's important for spiritual people to begin to ask themselves why they believe that they shouldn't be properly resourced, why they believe that they shouldn't be wildly financially compensated for the work they're doing in the world.
And why is their value less than someone else's?
Right. When in fact, truthfully, it's probably more.
Valued,
There are people being paid much greater sums of money than healers and energy workers and spiritual people. And when you actually look at the value that those people give to our community, to our collective, to humanity, there's a big problem there in the types of people that we're paying for the types of services they're providing and what we're not paying spiritual people.
For sure, because it's like the difference between adding value and manipulation, right? So there's like this tug, and we're seeing it right now. We are seeing it, and it's beginning to emerge. I want to talk about Witches of Wall Street, though, because you brought up a really good, a strong point. Like, you created a producer of Witches of Wall Street because you saw this gap that needed to show that you can be spiritual, you can run successful 7- and 8-figure businesses, and you can still give back to the world and give back to your communities. You know, where is this premise going? Like, what's next with this? Because I think this is the conversation that can help crack the way that women view and see wealth, the way they see success, and the way they see other women that are working actually together.
Yeah. So, you know, to address this, I think we have to talk about that, you know, along with, and again, it kind of always comes back to this Christianity thing, and unfortunately, it's just a lot of programming came out during that time. It's greedy to want. It's greedy to desire. It's greedy to want more than what you have.
And guilt. You get the guilt for wanting more.
100%, 100%. So, you know, with Witches of Wall Street, what we're really trying to do is shift and say, money doesn't make you a bad person. In fact, all it does is amplify the person you already are. Now, are there a bunch of horrible people that get money and do bad things with it? Of course. But it's not the money, it's the person. So for us, Witches of Wall Street is about how did we, all self-made women, how did we come into our financial success? And now what are the things that we choose to do with that financial success to uplift the collective consciousness of humanity, to help people, to help spiritual female entrepreneurs, which is something that we're really, really passionate about. And really looking at how being properly resourced allows you to do more good in the world. It actually allows you to give back. It allows you to help people who are less fortunate than you are. So that's the idea behind
and I love it. Like when you shared it with myself, there's a total of 6 women, right? 5 or 6?
Yep.
Yeah. And I know that we've been talking about it. It's been part of all of our belief systems. And I feel that by us doing this, it's like shows that there can be so many different personalities, come from so many different areas and have different skill sets, but still walk a line of honor, of grace, integrity, And it's interesting because it's like it goes back to this, you're either spiritual, that means that you're honorable and you have integrity, or you're manipulative, And so by being able to showcase different styles of women, I think this is going to give like a much better and a bigger picture for the women out there. How do you see it rolling out? Because I'm just going to put you on the spot here because we've been talking about it for so long.
Yeah.
Like, how do you see it rolling out?
Well, I think our first idea is to really begin this talk show where we can start talking about the topics that are hot and popular and are desperately in need of in-depth conversation that are happening in the world. So hopefully we are at least filming by January, we've got some dates set so we can start releasing some of these shows.
Yeah.
I would love to see Witches of Wall Street filming the reality television show, filming August, September, October of next year.
Yes.
So that's sort of the vision that I'm holding, is that, we'll roll out the talk show in the first part of 2022, allow people to really get to know us as women and what we stand for, start showcasing some of the projects that we're going to be funding. And then actually move into the filming of the reality show in, late summer, early fall of next year, and be pitching to the networks.
Yeah,
at the end of the year.
Well, this is the brilliant piece. And I bring this up because, first off, I love it. I love what you've created and you brought into my world. But it opens up those conversations like multiple streams of income. I know you're so passionate about that. All of us, like it's so natural for us to think of all different realms and ways of having multiple streams of income, but most women don't see it that way, right? They're either working for that one line, which is like all eggs in the basket, right? Yeah. So how do you help women break through that or open up their mindset to even including additional streams of wealth and income into their life?
Yeah. Well, I think that this is something that people just don't consider.
They don't even consider it.
We get so locked in or dialed into, we've got our 9-to-5 job, or even if we're doing our purpose work, it's like we feel like we have to be so focused on that there's not room for bringing anything else in. And a mutual friend of ours, actually, Jason Cisneros, I did a talk with him, and he told me something that blew my mind. In 2019, the US had more bankruptcies filed than they had in years. 73% of those bankruptcies could have been avoided if the family was simply bringing in $800 more a month. 73% of bankruptcies in 2019, $800 a month. When I heard that, my mind was blown because I immediately go to, do you know how easy it is to make $800 a month?
Yeah.
And I know for some of the people that are maybe watching it doesn't seem that easy, but it is. And so, this has kind of been, since having that conversation, this has really been a passion of mine, is educating my clients and the people in my community about opening up additional streams of revenue. First, starting with, how can I bring in an extra $500 a month? And just first and foremost, opening myself up to the possibility that could be a reality. And it doesn't seem like perhaps it would be that transformative in your life, $500. And to some people, I'm sure it seems like it would be hugely transformative. But it's a doable amount of money. And so how do we do that? Well, there's lots of ways. Home-based businesses, finding something that you're personally aligned to, perhaps some product that you actually use that you really like, whether it's network marketing or social selling, like creating some kind of small home-based business where you can put a few hours a month into something that will then begin to generate recurring revenue for you.
Yeah.
Affiliate sales, finding somebody that you're really passionate about what they do that has affiliate sales and sharing their work. I mean, this is something we're super passionate about with the Wild Network.
Yeah. But that's even how I started as an entrepreneur. Like, I mean, when I went from corporate, I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, but I didn't know what to do. So I just started selling someone else's stuff. Like, that is actually probably the easiest step that someone could really take.
Yeah.
Because if you think about many that are like running jobs and they're like, I only have this one 9-to-5 thing. But if you then sell someone else's stuff, you don't even actually have to do any of the work.
Yeah.
And I think that these are like little indicators, but you and I are collectively creating something that allows people to have multiple, like 7, 8, 10 streams of income embedded in it. And I think this is where the new developments and shifts are going, that like we've got people that are seeing gaps in marketplaces and creating something. How would you suggest people like find things to align with?
Well, I think you have to, I mean, this is really, it's really a personal decision. And I think that, you find personal success in opening additional streams of revenue when you find the things that really light you up.
Yeah.
What are the things that you love? What are the things that you're passionate about? And if you can identify those things, and then, you either go find somebody who's already successful in that lane, and you join their affiliate program and you share their work, or you find a product that's really personally aligned to you, maybe in the business that you do, or maybe it's just personally like something that you're passionate about. I think that the alignment piece is really important, because it's got to be something that you're willing to talk about and share, that most likely you would do for free anyway.
Yeah, that's a big one, right? Because if you're not, then you're it's like, it's more of a manipulation. You're contriving the message, and the true passion doesn't come through.
Yeah.
You talk a lot about keeping and holding money. And I think this is like where the wave that people go through, like all of a sudden they collect a lot of money and then they lose it all, and they keep going through these cycles. Where does that peak and valley happen? Like, why does that actually happen?
I think it primarily has to do with financial custodianship. It's that we just haven't really been taught to foster a good exchange type of relationship with money. And so we either are making it or we're spending it, but we're not being really conscious about the custodianship of it. And so I think it's really important to begin to bring ourselves into an energetic and vibrational space of desiring to have a relationship with our wealth, and a relationship with how we facilitate the making of that wealth, the spending of that wealth. And you talk about tracking the money line, and it's a similar concept of like, know where your money is coming from, know where it's going, and be a good custodian of it. Have a level of reverence or responsibility for the work that you're doing that's enabling you to earn this money, and then be really responsible with how you're sending it out into the world. And I think that in and of itself enables people to shift their money identity, certainly their money story, and enables them to step into a more empowered place, which then immediately sort of motivates us to like, oh, I want to act differently with it now. I don't want to just spend it all every month. I want to, put some here for savings, and I want to donate some here to this cause that I'm passionate about. So I think it's just awareness around what's the type of relationship you want to have with money.
Well, and I mean, most people's relationships, like mine, came from my family, right? I had to clear that. My family was always that we didn't have enough. Like always, like, oh, we don't have enough, or it's like we didn't have enough for this, we can't go to dinner here. And I grew up with always thinking that we never had enough. And then when I got older, I started thinking about it, I'm like, I always had enough. I always had the things that I needed. I always had food. I never went with no shelter. Now, certainly I don't know what my family was going through at that time, but I always had enough. But the message they gave me was that I didn't, and I was living with that. I was always like, I felt like I was chasing the dollar all the time. Until one day we went to this big event, and I actually wrote on one of these big wooden boards, and we were going to break it. I said, I will never allow the price tag to stop me from giving and having what I want. And I broke through that. And as symbolic as it is, I realized like this is someone else's belief systems, and like we do this so often. We just carry these belief systems with us, and it's not even ours. So how do people break through then these type of belief systems? Because I know you do a lot of work, like really on the deep energetic level and the reprogramming level.
Yeah, so I mean, this is what my emotional clearing modality is about, right? It's really getting to the root of this generational and ancestral patterning that we carry that's not ours, that affects us in each moment of every day. So how I do that is by looking at stuck and stagnant emotional pathology that we store in the organs and meridian systems of the body, and using my modality, which combines 5-element theory, kinesiology, NLP, to release those patterns and release that some of that trauma and programming and conditioning that we carry around money. But everybody can begin to break these types of patterns down. And we just simply have to stay in a constant state of curiosity and be asking ourselves, wow, I have this belief. Is that actually mine? Do I actually believe that? Or is that something that's just been programmed and conditioned into me? So if we make a commitment to stay in a constant state of curiosity and stay in a constant state of inquiry about the things in our life that aren't serving our highest and best good, and just really start to ask ourselves, like, is that mine? Do I want to continue on with this pattern in my life? Like, our choice and our decision are such powerful tools. Ones that I think we often take for granted, how powerful it is to just make a choice and make a decision to shift something and do something differently.
Yeah, I mean, and if you start to track it, you see what happens when you actually make a decision. All of a sudden, everything aligns towards that decision that you make. What are some simple steps or things that people can actually start to do so they can become more aware, they can realize their choices, they can actually see when they're getting blocked?
Yeah.
You know, like that people can start doing even right now in their life.
I think the first thing is that people really need to consciously decide the type of relationship they want to have with money.
Yeah, like what? Like how?
Like, do I want money to be, do I want to feel like I'm controlled by money? Do I want to feel like I'm controlled, my mood, my energy is controlled by my bank balance? Or do I want to shift that relationship so that I can begin to see money as what it is, which is an ally and a resource? So just those little kinds of shifts of like, what do I actually want my relationship with money to be like? Journal about it. Write down. Here's my new relationship with money. I'm deciding right now in this moment that this is going to be my new relationship with money. And making some decisions about like, what does that look like for you? Do you want to start investing right now? Do you want to start diversifying how you hold your money? Do you want to start opening up another stream of revenue? When we start to take action towards shifting our mindset, that's actually when we start to see things shift in our external landscape. Like, we have to focus on the internal landscape first. So what is it that we desire? What do we want to decide is going to be true for us from this moment forward? And then we journal on that and we meditate on that. And, we write down affirmations and we write proclamations and we continue to come back and revisit that. Find some incredible wealth consciousness work online, whether it's a podcast or, get a book. Spend some time every single day shifting your relationship with money.
And just focusing on it. Like we know that, where the energy goes, it's where the money flows, or it's where everything happens where you're putting your energy into it. I think that's where people get afraid.
Yeah.
They get afraid. They're like, I'm just doing my 9 to 5, and then they come home, they want to get numbed out, they want to TV, they want to overdrink, oversmoke, and completely black out their brain instead of actually putting a conscious effort to what they want.
Yeah.
Now, I know that you do a lot of courses and working with people, especially with women, in your emotional resonance clearing, but I know that you have a new course that's coming out.
Yep.
And what is that, and what is that work going to do for the audience?
Yeah, so I'm really passionate, as you know. I mean, we both are about helping entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And so I haven't actually done any kind of business mastermind or business work or course for about 2 years, because I left to sort of focus on the modality and some of the wealth consciousness stuff that I was doing, some of the programs that I was doing. And so, over the last several months, I've really been called back into a place of planetary service around helping spiritual entrepreneurs grow and scale businesses. And so this new course is a 6-month mastermind called Wealth Warrior. And it is really just what it says. It's for the women specifically that are here to be change makers and are here to lead humanity into this next age, which I believe is going to be our next golden age. But it's for women that are really ready to get aligned to their message and share their truth unapologetically to actually affect and create the change in the world that they're here to create.
Well, I mean, the moment that women actually live into this space that we were brought in here for, the wealth itself, it's like, I remember when I stepped into this, it's almost like it becomes effortless, right? Because you're just living, you're breathing what you believe in. And the moment, like this work that you're doing it's a big responsibility though too. Yep. So how do you go from this balance of like, now you've got spiritual, like you're dealing with a lot there.
Yep.
You've got spiritual entrepreneurs or healers that want to be an entrepreneur. Like, how do you actually bridge that gap? Because that could be, there's going to be a lot of challenges there. Like, how do you foresee that? Because I mean, we need this.
Yeah.
The moment our spiritual entrepreneurs, like they come to become an entrepreneur and believe it, it's like, brrr, like the wealth and then the giving it's just exponential.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of deconstruction work that has to be done here, right? Because there is a lot of programming and a lot of conditioning around what's okay, what's appropriate, what I should do, what I shouldn't do. And I'm just really interested in bringing each woman that works with me into a place of personal alignment with what is true for her, not for anybody else.
In her sovereignty.
Yeah. And then looking at, we know that it's almost difficult to not make money if you are living your truth and you are coming back to a place of personal alignment every single day.
Yeah.
So that's really what I want to share and what I want to demonstrate and what I want women that are in the spiritual space that are here to make a big difference to be able to understand is that, making money is easy. We have a belief and a mindset that it's difficult, but what's hard is continuing to bring yourself back into a place of alignment every single day and keeping your commitments to yourself to do that.
Yeah.
So that's a big part of the work that we'll be doing.
Yeah, and that's true. Like you see so many people, like you would say, they like fall off the wagon, right? They they grow and all of a sudden they're making so much wealth or they're having all this fame and all of a sudden it's like they fall off.
Yep.
And it's because of that same belief system that they had that got them there, that they had to break to get them there. And that's the same belief system that gets them back to the back end.
Yeah.
That falls them off. How do we keep that mindset? Because that's usually the fear, right? I come into wealth, I'm not going to be able to have it. So we go through that roller coaster. Like, how do we keep that?
Well, I think the thing that people don't understand is, like, I wish I could tell you that there's this magic pill, you take this pill and then you can make money and then you don't have to do anything ever again. But the truth is that wealth consciousness work is forever work.
Yeah.
Like, just like spiritual growth and expansion is. Yeah. You have to remain focused on where you're desiring to go, what you're desiring to create, and you have to do the personal work. Like, you've got to keep coming back into places with a personal alignment. And how we grow and expand financially is by growing and expanding spiritually. And continuing to do those practices that bring us back to our authenticity, back to our truth, back to the highest and best version of ourselves, and I think people just discount. It's like they start doing good, and it's human nature, right? We start doing good and then we kind of forgot what we were doing to get us there, or we start to let it slip off a little bit, and then before you know it, we're not doing any of those things. We plateau and then we start sliding backwards. So for me, I'm always in a place of trying to push myself to the next spiritual place of spiritual growth and expansion, which means I'm pushing myself to the next place of what is in the highest and best good for my divine immortal soul, and is what's going to bring me into alignment with who I am and the work I'm meant to do in the world. And as long as I keep focusing on that, the money part is easy.
That's the key. I mean, you just said that. It's staying in alignment. And this is like you walking that line of integrity. You're staying within your truest self and your highest self's beliefs. And that right there, it's so simple, yet people make it so hard.
Yeah.
It's like, just follow your soul's path.
Yeah.
Stay there with it. I love it, Leah. I love what you're doing. I mean, obviously you and I are dear friends. We have a lot of projects we're working on together. You're going to be in the next book, the Wealth edition of Women Gone Wild. We're building this network together so we can help share our voice and show how women can actually have a platform and not be censored. The Wealth Warrior, I mean, there's so much that you're doing. Is there anything more that you've got coming up that we can look for or to follow?
Well, I'm super excited about my channel on the Wild Network.
Yep,
so there's going to be lots and lots of opportunity to come, absorb, watch free content, paid content. Like, I'm really excited about this project. I'm excited about kind of pulling all of my public resources of how you can reach me and consume my content here to the network in one place. Yeah, so I think that's the next big project that, we're both sort of working on, is the launch of this network. And I'm just so excited to get this content out there and have this platform for women to come and consume not only wealth consciousness work, but lots of different work from different content creators. And all of it really is about bringing yourself back into alignment.
Yeah, it's exciting. I mean, this is something that we saw coming. We knew we needed to do it. I mean, there's so much content being suppressed and censored that if we can create a space where someone comes and wants to actually be part of it and to really learn from some of the greatest minds in the world, Yeah, I'm really excited about it too. There's so much developments coming forward. We've got a lot of projects. I can't wait for Witches of Wall Street to launch. Oh, look, we've got Buttercup coming to visit us. That's the best part about being in the home in the studio. So, Leah, thank you so much. Where can everyone, other than the Wild Network, because they can look for the Wealth Witch on the Wild Network, My Wild Network. Yep. Where else can they find you?
So the Wealth Witch podcast, everywhere podcasts are streamed, and I'm at the Leah Steele on all the social medias.
Yep. Awesome. So, thank you, my dear. I love you dearly. So amazing. Well, look at you. What do you think about yourself right now? Like, just look at yourself in the mirror and ask yourself, am I worthy? Do I deserve wealth? Is wealth easy for me, or is wealth challenging? Do you accept it? Do you bring it into your life, or do you push it away? This is all energy. This is all your belief system. And just talking to Leah today, realize we can actually shift all of it, because we are it's our divine right to be abundant, to be wealthy. So I want you all today to really ask yourself, what do I want? What do I want? And then bring it out to the universe and attract more of it into your life. I hope you enjoyed today's series in this episode of season 4 with Leah Steele, the Wealth Witch herself. Make sure you go and follow Leah every day. This podcast, her content comes out and it makes you think. Stay in alignment with yourself. Stay in alignment with those that are talking about the topics that you can shift from and that you can bring more deeply into your life and into your business. I look forward to seeing you on the next show. Don't forget to stay wild and be unstoppable.